Stephanie, you had sent out the email, by email, the minutes, and Susan had provided some corrections.
They were just small.
Yeah,
Yes.
very really editorial type, not
Yeah.
matters of substance there.
Right. Those revisions have all been made. They were basically to the descriptions of the actions regarding 109 Upper Seven Ponds Road, Watermill 800 Montauk Highway in Watermill, 44 East Street in North Sea, and 659 East Montauk Highway in Shinnecock Hills. And those minor changes have all been made.
Okay. Well, I move the adoption of the minutes of the February meeting. Is there a second? Vicky seconds. Any further changes and amendment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Please raise your
Aye.
hand. Aye. Okay. Minutes are approved.
All right. They will be posted next couple of days.
Okay, fine. Also, for tonight's agenda, we want to get a chance to discuss the project that Vicky is leading on the Certified Local Government Program. So just keep that in mind after we deal with our applications. And as another matter, David raised a question on the appropriateness of asking for engineering reports, and perhaps we can get a chance to just reflect a little bit on that later in the meeting after we get through our applications. Okay, the first item on our agenda is 102 Red Creek Road, Hampton Bays, a demolition application. And if I can share my screen here. One share screen. Okay. And we want to get to 102. Okay. This is a proposal to demolish a house which is listed as AYB 1930. And let me just bring up the oblique imagery. I looked on the 1930 aerials and did not find it. I looked on the 1938 aerials and did not find it either. So it could be that the house has a much later, this is the house right here, has a much later construction than suggested by the assessors database, but be that as it may. This is the house. That's the subject of the application for demolition. There's no present plans submitted and proposed for anything in its place at the moment, but I suspect that very narrow lot that it probably would be a more cohesive and enhanced structure than is presently in place here. In looking at the application, it looks like it's been remodeled and redone in past years. I didn't find anything particularly historic about it, and nothing that I could find that was notable about it. I don't know if is there anyone else who has any sense of this property?
I know I have never seen it, but I remember it around 2015 when they were doing the subdivision. It was on the planning board agenda a number of times, either a subdivision or a lot line modification. But it appeared at that time that it, was going to be, of course, kept, and now since it's been, I guess, sold, that's changed. But that's all I know. It was part of another application maybe 5-6 years ago. But I never saw anything to indicate anything of concern.
Yeah, this is the 1938 aerial from Suffolk County. And if you look at it, these are the 3 houses close to the shoreline.
We have the other one. We have 2018.
Pardon?
We have 2018. That's what we see.
What we're seeing the oblique shot from pictometry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I got a new share. Let me just bring it up. Yeah, once you get in the share rut, it's hard to get out. Do you see it now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, basically, this is the 1938 picture. This is the 3 structures close to the shoreline. The 4th structure would be on a narrow strip in here, and blowing it up, hard to get it any larger, but it doesn't show any kind of roof structure or clearance that would be compatible with the kind of condition you see for these other structures on the shoreline. So in any case, I don't see any reason to object to the application for demolition.
No.
Hi, Martha. Okay, Martha is with us. Any other comments about that? Okay,
No.
So the consensus is no objection. And I'll file the report on that. 138 Newtown Road, Hampton Bays. Okay. Let us get to 138. We'll be doing a lot with Hampton Bay, this area, this neighborhood tonight, along with a landmark proposal. Let me ask, perhaps before we go there, we have somebody in the waiting room. Correct, Charles?
Yes.
Would you, let's find out what application he is waiting for.
There's a DSR and Brian Picard. Should I let them in?
Let him in, yes, so we can address his concerns first.
There you go. Okay, that's okay.
Okay. We have Brian Picard.
Yes, I'm here.
What application are you here for?
1111 Mecox Road.
Okay. And we have DSR present. Are they on?
They're both in. They're both in.
Oh, they're both in. Okay. DSR is whom?
Turn on your mic.
There you go. Go ahead.
What application are you interested in?
45 Shore Road.
45 Shore Road, Remsenburg?
That's right.
Okay. Well, we have another applicant before you, so we'll
Fine.
take 111 Mecox Road first.
Brian,
Okay.
can you put your video on, please?
Yeah. There we go.
There you go. Okay, he's in.
Okay. Let me get here.
Yeah.
All right. This is Mecox Road, Bridgehampton. It's an application that for redoing a swimming pool structure. Is that right?
That's correct. There's a swimming pool, existing swimming pool, and the bluestone terrace surrounding the swimming pool that is actually existing non-compliant as far as zoning. It's very close to the lot line.
Right.
And we're proposing to do a new swimming pool with a new bluestone terrace that is shifted farther over from the lot line to be in
Closer
compliance
here?
with zoning. No, actually just, right between where it's actually the center of the new pool will be at about the east edge of the existing pool. It's just
Okay.
shifted over just slightly,
Right.
just barely. Yeah. And it will have a new pergola at the north end of the pool. That would be a cedar pergola,
Right.
kind of keeping in the style of the house, and renovating the existing cabana that is part of a later addition to the house that is right off of the garage.
That one to the far left.
Yes, to the far left, and that's a later addition that was done in the, I believe, in the 80s. And the original portion of the house then is to the east. If you move your cursor to the right, yeah, that is the original portion of the house there. The exterior has all been redone to kind of bring everything together. You can see some of the interior details in that existing portion of the house.
Right. Most of this house had been there for a long period of, or the core of the house had been there for a long period of time. And the property was originally belonged to the Cooper family, one of the original settlers of Southampton town. But the Coopers are long gone from the neighborhood, and it doesn't have as the historic character that it once had. Does the house show in the interior? Does the house have any of its any old characteristics?
Yes, the interior of the house, at least in that portion, there are exposed beams, plaster ceilings, an older fireplace, and I believe it's the original floor in the living room. The wide plank, beautiful floor. I believe there were some interior photographs as part of our submission package.
Yes.
That shows in the kitchen area, with the high ceiling and the exposed original beams. So it's kind of, it's mainly, shell elements. And then at the perimeter, all of the windows have been redone, but in a, keeping with a historic, profile.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's see if I can.
Yeah, but the area that we are looking to renovate, it was done in the 80s, And that the pool cabana, the exterior of the new cabana will be, very similar to what is presently there. Keeping with the style, just changing the footprint slightly. It should be very much in respecting the existing design and character of the house.
And the interior photos are in a separate packet. They came a
Yeah.
couple days later, I think.
Mhm.
Thank you. I don't think it's listed in AKRF in the Historic Resources Survey that I could find.
No, it was not.
And the AYB is 1775 for that older section. There they are.
Yeah, the older section here is shown here on top. That's in the portion of the house where we're not doing any work there. And the photographs on the lower portion of the page here are showing the cabana that we'll be demolishing and completely renovating. So we'll be expanding this, but this was all from a much later, a non-historic addition.
This is the old fireplace here. Well, I myself have no objection and concerns about the proposed design and the project. But I open it up for comments for my colleague board members.
I have no objections either. It looks like, the work is going to be in the back, and it does not look like the historic part of this house is going to be touched.
This house was once that possibly slight historical note associated with it. There's a longtime resident of a person who was a carpenter by trade and a boat builder out here, and had originally been one of the members of the life-saving patrol that was formed along the East Coast, which later became the Coast Guard. He was, I know by local folklore in Bridgehampton, that he, with his knowledge of the marine coastline, he made good use of it in the 1920s when they were running rum along the coast from Montauk to Southampton. He was supposedly one of the experts on it. So his name was Herbert Cooper. But in any case, without any other comments, I'll send a response back to the building department that we have no objection, and they will go forward with process for the permit that you need.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Okay, glad to have you here to help us explain, and especially in these days of doing things by Zoom, trying to make things clear for everyone is helped by having the applicant present.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me, and thank you for what you guys do, and have a good night. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll go to 45 Shore Road, Remsenburg, and I believe Bill did a report on that.
Yes, yep. This is a construction application to add like a 1.5 car garage to the right-hand end of the house, and then to add to a previous 1-story addition on the rear of the house to extend the kitchen, create a laundry, a powder room, little mud room. Everything on the rear of the house is not visible from the street. The only thing that you will see is the front of the garage from the street. The AYB of the house is 1920. There is a studio in the back that's not being worked on from 1989. Also a patio and a pool that were constructed in 1989. This house oddly is not listed on the AKRF. They seem to have missed it. And it's also not listed in the historic profiles of Eastport, Spionk, Remsenburg, and West Hampton. Looking at the outside of the house, it looks similar to there's three sort of sister houses at, where are they? 19, 23, and 27, I believe, Shore Road.
Yes.
Similar gambrel roofed houses. Stephanie and I both thought that perhaps they had been built in the same time period by perhaps the same builder. The other three were all built for one man for each of his daughters. This one, we didn't really find any connection to it, but the sort of gambrel center mass of the house does appear very similar to it. 45 Shore Road does appear to have had new shingles put on the side walls. Any wood roof that was there is asphalt at this point. All of the windows are replacement windows, and the shutters didn't appear to be original either, but definitely the gambrel section is the original portion of the house and still very readable, very recognizable. It appears to have had perhaps a porch on the left-hand side of the house, which has now been converted to a enclosed porch. The right-hand side of the house has a much higher pitch. It steps back from the face of the house, a smaller second floor dormer on it. May have been a slightly later addition, but again, fairly recently, I guess, fairly recent to the time that the original house was built. The single-story shed roof addition on the rear of the house has some sort of clunkiness to it on the north end, where it sort of steps in and out of the door, but all of that is not visible from the street. Yeah, the photo there that you have, you can kind of see there's a couple of different roof lines coming together, and then the door steps in. But all of that will now be built onto by the addition on the rear of the house. The garage will be coming out from that left-hand end of the picture, and the one-story addition on the rear will come out from that one-story shed section, and you won't see it from the road. My only concern was that the drawings called for vinyl siding on the garage, but I don't have a lot of concern. Most of what you're going to see from the street on the garage addition will be the garage door, which in the drawings is a carriage house style door. So I don't really think there's going to be much of the siding. I haven't seen
Is the siding of a shingle character, or is it?
Yes, yeah. What I had read was new cedar. They wrote it as NEW cedar. What I could find online was written as NU cedar.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's a new cedar.
New cedar. It looks exactly like shingles. Yeah.
Yeah, it does look exactly like cedar shape.
Right.
So it's
the
faux shingle character
Yes.
to it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So it will look similar. So I had no real objection to that. The cupola seemed a little out of character, but it's very small and it's pushed back from the front of the house. So overall, I had no objection to the application.
Okay, comments, members? I see nothing here that is of concern. I think you've covered the territory very well, Bill. And your assessment is correct. So unless there is further comment, I would suggest, Bill, would you send a response to the building department as no objection to the application?
Yes, I'll do that.
Okay, fine. So, and that to the applicants, that probably will occur within the next few days, and the building department probably will notify you. So,
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're
Okay,
welcome.
very good. Right. Okay. All right. The agenda item for, let's see, did we do? No, we didn't do 138 Newtown. Okay.
Right, that's where we need to start, 138.
All right, let's get to 138. This is to move a carriage house of some, first of all, this project, we have been here before. Let me just go back a little bit. We had back in May of 2019 and October of 2019, we, let me get this up here. We dealt with 132 Newtown Road, which is owned by the same owner. And that involved kind of multiple steps, including, I think, additions and putting a new foundation under a portion of the house. This is 138 right here, which is an old carriage house, and they want to move it and put up another, add a structure to it. So let's see, we could just get a. This is the structure right here. Very odd shaped piece of property that they have. Has some interesting window characteristics in it, lattice, and oval shaped patterns. You can't notice them here, but you can notice them now on, let me see if I can bring up the application, because there were pictures in the application that were pretty good. Okay, this is the building that is up for challenge. What's the This is something I hadn't really looked into.
From what I just looking, I haven't seen it in person. They're building that may have been part of a different application, because we've seen different things were included, but I think they've already had it approved to relocate that, the current carriage house. And it looks like they're cutting out the center section to make like an arched walkway through it in the older carriage house. And then the building behind it that you can see through that arch is the new building.
Right.
The front one right there that with the arch, that's going to be, I think, an office upstairs and storage down. And the one behind it's proposed to be an artist studio.
Right. It's interesting is they seem to be keeping all of the interesting windows, the ovals and the diamond panes. And by blowing that arch through the middle, the only thing that I can see that you're going to lose is they have some interesting bifold garage doors, 2 pairs of them on one side and then a single door on the far side. So you're not losing any windows, you're just going to lose doors.
The doors you're talking about here.
Yeah, those are the doors.
At first, I thought the new one was totally rebuilt and they were losing all the windows till I figured it out.
Yeah, I think they're keeping the windows is the idea.
Right. I thought, well, the first one I looked like was larger. I thought that's what they were remaking this into. No, this is an improvement because at least they keep the windows.
Yeah, the exterior siding is going to change too. It looks like it's going to be shingled in the new configuration here, and the existing siding and the lower volume of the building looks to be clapboard.
Mm.
I think it's
Well,
an interesting
certainly-
repurposing of the structure.
Right, I
Right.
was just going to make that point. Adaptive reuse. No horse-drawn carriages.
Yeah, I think it's quite creative.
Well, it's off the beaten path, essentially. It's not something that is very exposed to any public I don't need that. Let's see. It's not exposed to any public view to speak of. So I myself don't have any problem with the project.
Yeah, I think it's a nice, they're keeping the building and most of the interesting aspects of it and repurposing it, which is, I think, great.
I think particularly because it's an accessory structure, of course, and it's being preserved, although altered. But that's an improvement.
So if there's no other comments, I'll report back to the building department that our consensus is no objection to the project. Okay. Okay, let's go to our next agenda here.
Yeah, the
Next one is 63 Ocean Road. Well, we mentioned the fact that 326 Carb Road Watermill
That was
was
just for converting a 3rd floor attic closet into a 2-part powder room.
Yeah.
Interior only.
and
Right.
it was considered not significant to require a full review. So
Right.
We passed on that one.
Right.
Okay, 63 Ocean Road. And Martha, you
Sure. I went to see the house. I put a little report in.
okay?
It-
I don't know. I distributed this afternoon. I don't know if everybody got a chance to look at it.
Well, the house sits 3 lots from 27 from the Nathaniel Rogers house. And there's quite a few period houses around. So they don't want to tear down the house, which is nice. And it was originally built, it's a Halsey house. It's in the historic register in the Southampton or historic.
It's in the AKRF report. That's
Yes.
what we're talking about. Yes, okay.
Yes.
Um,
Do you want to do it, Ed? You know more about it. I don't know if it's come before you.
Well, this house was built 1901, about a mile away. Was on a farm in Bridgehampton, on the same side of Ocean Road. Let me just try to take this out a little bit so you get an idea where we are. This is Montauk Highway here. Let me get rid of the numbers here. This is Montauk Highway, and this is where the monument is in Montauk Highway. And the house we're talking about is right here. It was moved there in 1914 by the son of a farmer from further down, way down, about a mile away. I won't go down a mile away down to the highway. And it was in the family till about Halsey family, till about 1960 or so. And then it passed out and has been in the hands of some kind of summer residents or summer use for a period of time. It's a very nice house that you had. Let me try to get the report up here. It's actually described as a one-story house in the AKRF report, but it's actually a two-story house. They describe it as a combination of Queen Anne and arts and crafts style elements to it. There sits on a very narrow lot, narrow parcel. And
that's from the back of the house. So you wouldn't know you were almost behind Bridgehampton High School, the school, when you look down that way.
All the way down to the little body of water back there, the pond. There's a mud hole back there, kind of behind, yeah. So in any case, the individual involved, Robert Floyd Halsey, son of a farmer, tried farming a little bit, as Martha found out, went into running a milk route for a short period of time and then got rid of it. He was not really notable in Bridgehampton in any real way. He, for maybe 5 or 6 years, he was foreman of the highway department barn in Bridgehampton district. The superintendent of highways has a bunch of sub-superintendent personnel in the districts, and he operated as basically a highway department foreman of a crew for a period of time before his death. Anything? Oh, you found a photograph.
Yeah, that's him in the top center.
In the center. Okay, this is about 1900.
Yeah.
I think he was born 1884, 85, someplace in there. So looks very distinguished. Very distinguished group. This was at a time in the life of the area here, where the mixing of the wealthy summer residents and the locals created a kind of society culture with little types of enterprises like the smoking club, among other things. Of course, there were golf clubs and other developments during the same period of time, but I had never seen this. Where did you find it?
Well, I'll be honest, the East Hampton librarian found it in, I've got a whole list of articles that we went through. I mean, I spent the day in the library and I don't know where we found it. I'd have to go back and check.
Well, so it's very charming, and I've never seen it before, so that's very
good.
amazing. Yeah.
That makes my day.
Okay.
They don't want to, they're asking they've started to clear the land, actually, it seems they're getting ready to be given
do the
permission.
construction.
Yeah, well, they've had martyrs there, so just clearing trees and leveling a bit of behind the house. And there's no one there at the moment. There has been I can't remember the last time I saw a car there. But they just want to add a rear porch and a bit of an extension in the back. And nothing you'll really see from the street. You'll see it in the winter when you drive up on Ocean Road, but otherwise you can't see it from the front of the house, and it won't disturb the neighbors. So I personally thought it was a charming house, and it's nice that they're keeping it.
Yes, and given the neighborhood dynamics where to get larger living space, the usual option is tear down what's there and build something new. This is kind of a refreshing experience that the house is being preserved. Any comments from, Susan? Unmute.
I coughed earlier, so. My question was, you said it was moved a mile from on Ocean Road or Montauk Highway? You don't need to show me. I just was trying to get.
On Ocean Road.
Okay, to the south.
Yeah,
Okay.
he had,
It's
the
next to his-
UID on the house is 1900. The house was built 1901. He got married, and he built, or his father perhaps had the deeper pockets because he would have been only in his 20s or so, and he built a house next to his father on one side, and his brother built a house on the other side. His name is unimportant, but the three houses kind of occupied the farmstead area. And when his father died, they sold off, or before the father died, they sold off the land to a New York City person who bought the houses and the farm. And I guess he was going to tear the house down. Robert Floyd Halsey had already moved out and was planning to build a new house, and he decided he would seek to take his old house. So he bought the old house from the New York City fellow and moved it up Ocean Road north about a mile to its present location, and thus preserved it. Home sweet home, I guess. If you built the house new and you heard it was going to be torn down 13 years later, that might have motivated him to try to preserve it. In any case, very nicely done. thank you, Martha, for, doing the report and doing the work. I'll, after the meeting, at some point, I'll get back to you with a few suggestions about this. These reports are sometimes being filed in the town's archive, GIS archive. And so having it dressed up a little bit with a date and your name on it and a couple of other things would be
There's
important.
quite a few articles we can add to it. I mean,
Okay.
I had a lot. I just didn't want to, for Britain, as they say. I didn't want to. They all just had bits and pieces of Frank
The story there. Yeah.
Floyd Halsey's life.
Yeah.
He's a human being, so he was in the village.
So, okay, thanks. So we'll file a no objection
Thank you.
comment on that as well. And thank you for taking it up, by the way. I was somewhat preoccupied trying to keep up with the emails, so I didn't get to respond to your inquiry in a timely way when you originally were asking about it.
That's quite all right. I enjoyed
Okay.
it.
All right, after 63 Ocean Road, we can go to, well, we'll just mention 23B Baycrest Avenue, West Hampton, which was to deal with a fire damaged dwelling. And it was determined that the application didn't warrant any further review for ourselves. We have done 45 Shore Road in Remsenburg, and that brings us to 396 Cobb Road, Watermill.
Yes.
So let's go there. Susan, do you want to take
Yes.
up the
We reviewed this same an application for the same property in, well, I guess it was August. We were out there in July, in August 2020. And we had no objection. The consensus was no objection because at the time, even though it was a pretty ambitious project and there was demolition for the front porch, the rear section, which was non-original. The core of the house was going to be preserved toward the front, and it was going to be extended more vertically toward the back with a larger addition. So that one had no objection. And the one that we received currently, it's significantly different than that. But this house is listed in AKRF. It's in the Watermill Historic District. It was the Theodore Conroe house. It was built in 1906 and was part of that Ball Estate area that I have written about, of course, a number of times. It would be a historic district almost unto itself. And this house was right next door, and the Conroe family also owned the property at One Little Cobb, which was the golf course. So it's sort of tied into that golf course. But the house was also significant because the architect was Imar Embry III, and the house was shown in the American Home and Gardens 1909 magazine. So I sent that article, included that article with the floor plan, and it was basically that front gable, and it had the veranda type piazza porch and a lot of outdoor space, which eventually became enclosed. However, this application, I did ask for further description and also current photos, which I didn't receive from the applicant, but I was able to stop by when there were no workers there. Because what threw me at one time, there was in the top part of the gable, there is a arched window that's very, very predominant, and we suggested that it be preserved. And when I looked at the new plans, there were 3 of them. And I was like, well, wait a second. So what happened was after I got on the property and I could see the core of the house that was left, that the core of the house, if you go down just a little bit further, you skim on down there. Okay, if you look right, stop on that page right there. Okay, there you can see the window, and of course that's the front on the way up to the driveway. The second photo it's already been lifted, which we approved, and what has been demolished was part of that proposal from last year. But you can see that window. Now it appears, if by reading the plans, that window appears, it says existing windows appears on the north facade. So it looks like they're rotating that section 90 degrees to face the north. And the semi-turret, the two-story bay will be on the front, on the west elevation. And it appears that they're going to remove the bottom bay window and make it the front door, retain the top bay window, but also change the height of that roof. It had a very low pitch, and now it's much higher. And it's now in a horizontal configuration. So to the left, you see the gazebo, and there'll be an open porch that wraps around. To the right is the three-story addition with a replica window up in the gable. And then there is the porte cochere with an attached 3-car garage, which used to be a separate garage in the back. So looking at that, as far as I can see, the only original features left would be the one window that'll face the north, the shed dormer that'll face the rear now, and possibly that second floor bay window, but just about everything else is pretty much gone. It took me a while going through that. I did include the 2020 plans, which we, that's what it would have looked like. You could actually still see the core of the house was in the center, but no longer. So that's west elevation is what would concern me the most, because that's what you would see from the road if there wasn't a lot of, with the screening removed. So my recommendation, since they seem to want to they have part of their plans is to build an accessory guest cottage to the rear of the property. My recommendation is that they relocate this particular, the core of the house, back to the back. I mean, keep that front gable and the distinctive window facing the front, and use that for the guest house. Add a porch, a wraparound porch like it had before, or if there's something else to the rear, but at least you would have the form of the house preserved. If not, it's going to be lost in that mass. And the south elevation would actually be facing, of course, it's the right-hand side. You can see the garage doors. That doesn't concern me as much because, you know, you wouldn't be seeing that from the road. But everything else is pretty much gone. I mean, they could rebuild the house just the way they want it, but have it all new construction, because I think pretty much that's what it's going to be. If they could preserve the core of that house, there would be something interesting, and that would have some historic value left. Oh, plus they're on that one next to the double bay, the two-story bay, there's also a small bay window that's at the staircase level, and that's going to be, you can see that small one there. It's going, right, that one would be lost. It looks like they may be going to try to keep that dormer and run a chimney through it, but I assume it's going to be all new pretty much all new construction. Except maybe,
This house looks like it's been renovated before in some places.
yeah, I think most of what is left in the core now, it seems to be, if you go down to the original floor plans, I think they're on the last page. Just keep, yeah. You can see in 1909, those were the floor plans that were in the magazine. And then in 2020 is what they had proposed, but you could see the core of it would have been there. But in the one on the bottom for 2020, there's 2021, there's nothing really left. But the one that you see originally going up the driveway, yes, there was that porch at one time, but it was open, and at some point they closed that. So I'm sure there, but that's all been removed now. So it's down basically to that core. The section right, the front section without that little kitchen area to the back. That's pretty much what you see now. That's what you see up on the beams.
Susan, didn't we look at this together in 2020?
Pardon?
Didn't we look at this together in 2020?
Yeah, this is the same we looked at, but right.
Right, but it's
So-
completely unrecognizable now from what they want to do.
So what's left was part of that application, but it seemed they decided to relook at it. And instead of putting the larger new addition to the rear in more of a vertical front to rear fashion, they decided to spread it out and go horizontal and linear and flip this around and put that, what is now the front section would face the north or the left.
There's not much room to move this house and put something new there.
Well, what's left of it, I looked at it, they have a picture of the new, on their site plan in the application, they had a picture of that garage is removed, and that's the general area that the new guest house is going to be. But if you take all those things away, it did, by my eye, there were no measurements for their guest house, it appeared to be approximately the same size.
Yeah, that's looking at it, the existing site plan and the proposed site plan. I would agree, Susan, that they do seem to be the core of the house, as you describe it, appears to be about the same size as the proposed new guest house.
Technically, it's not a guest house, guys. It's an accessory apartment. We don't
Okay.
have guest houses, legal guest houses. And they have applied for an accessory apartment. The town has to extinguish a development right for that accessory apartment.
But they already have one though, they're just replacing it.
No, they don't have one.
They
Not
don't?
legally. If they have one, it's not legal.
Yeah, they have a garage on here and the main house. They don't show anything else in the way of the structure on, or other than there's a tiny little pool house, it looks like.
If you go to the application and look at the site plan, that's what, that was part of their original application also, that they called it an accessory mother's cottage.
Yeah, people use the wrong terms. It's an accessory apartment. I believe they said that somebody's mother is going to live there, so they don't have to provide a lease. But it cannot be used as a guest house for guests when they come to visit.
Then I could change take the word guest off of there.
Yeah, just so that we keep the record clear, so nobody thinks that it's a guest house.
So it's called an accessory.
Accessory apartment.
Okay.
It will have a finished basement. I have the application here. Accessory apartment with fireplace and porch, finished basement with no cooking or sleeping permitted in the basement. It's 998 square feet, the accessory apartment. So it's considerably smaller than the core of the house. I would guess. Susan, I guess you were proposing maybe they could do a carriage house, keep the core and make it a carriage house.
Yeah, that would be my suggestion, is to save the core of the house and use it in lieu of what they had proposed. They could refer to it a carriage house if they needed that. I may not have the correct terminology, but it's basically going to be lost. So
Yeah.
my
But
feeling was
And
to
they would
object
have to
the-
rebuild the core part of the house, which they're obviously trying to incorporate into the new house.
Right, but by the time they do that, there's going to be nothing really much left except maybe the window.
Yeah, there are limitations on how big a carriage house can be. It might exceed the maximum size. And the property,
It's
1.4 acres. What zone is it?
recommended if permitted or as permitted.
Yeah, a carriage house might not be permitted on this property. I haven't researched that aspect of it, but anyway, that's just my input. I mean, we could suggest it to them and they could explore it if
That's all.
I mean,
that's
we're already
all I was going to
extinguishing
do.
development, right? Although
Pardon?
they get the development right for free for the accessory apartment, they would have to buy it if they did the carriage house, because the carriage house is considered to be a second dwelling. You could certainly suggest it. I don't know how.
It just seems a shame because I thought we had, well, Vicky was there and we went through it together. I thought in a sense we had the core preserved in some fashion, even though it was pretty ambitious, but this one, there's just really nothing left. So that's my recommendation, is to object to it and recommend that they explore.
The house is not in it. It is not in its original character.
I can't hear you.
Ed, we're not hearing you. I think you're covering your mic.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me?
Not when your hand is over the mic.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Didn't realize it. The house is not in its original character presently. I mean, you're not, the objection is to altering a house that has already suffered some alterations.
Right, it's the core of it it's basically missing the porches and there was a rear kitchen, but the rest of it appears to be there.
They always said they were going to take out the rear kitchen, I believe. That was always slated to go. And the issue was a setback from the side yard from the house next door there too.
Yeah.
But they'll be moving everything over more toward the center anyway.
Right.
So we should object to it.
I'm a mixed, I'm ambivalent about the proposal in this sense. I don't find making a specific recommendation as a solution to the concerns. No.
So,
I mean,
the
is that-
concern is that we're losing that they've basically taken all the period features out of the facade of the house. And we won't see any of it anymore. It'll be gone.
Yeah, I mean, that I see, but I also feel that some of the period features have already been obscured. But anyway, if feeling of
Actually, the
every-
porte cochere, that was not in part of the original plans. If you look at the original floor plan, that was a later addition.
yeah, no.
It was that central core and the front porch that was part of the.
Was that
original.
dormer on as well in the original?
Pardon?
Was the dormer on?
As far as I know.
I agree with you, Ed. This house had a lot of work done before even the 2020 application came to us.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, it's the looking at, it's that 2-story bay window. You can see that in the original plans. I would have to pull up. I'm not sure if the second floor plans were part of that magazine or not. And I really can't flip through here to find that.
Yeah. Well, the
I mean, I
other.
could, but I didn't
the
know
other-
that was a concern, or I could have.
The other concern is that we've already suggested we didn't have an objection to having it altered in a previous version of an application. And now we're saying we're opposed to having it altered in another version.
Well, in the original version, it was going to be left, it would be on the front facade. You would have some semblance of the house that was there, and the rest had been built toward the rear. But in this case, it's going to be rotated, and most parts are going to be removed from the exterior.
Hmm.
The window will be the front entrance, downstairs, that second floor stairwell bay will be gone.
Well, I think any response we make, if the response is to be critical and have an objection to it, should also explain the difference between the response made previously and why that one was satisfactory and why this one is not.
Okay, that's why I tried to include both of those
The
as
report,
part of
yes.
that overview.
Right.
That overview is just for us. I mean, they've already gotten the history of it.
Right,
That was just to help us review it.
right. And I think the response should note that it was, the prior application was looked at by the Landmarks Board on a certain date. So any comments? Are we of a mind that Susan should respond with an objection and criticism of sorts on the extent of the renovations that lose the original character of the house, the exterior of the house?
Particularly the view from the street, that faces the road.
Yeah.
What was that again?
It's the view, the elevation that you see that faces the road is being
Yeah.
dramatically changed from what it was proposed in the 2020 application.
Exactly.
Altered,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think we need to be very clear about, the reason we're objecting to this relative to our no objection last time.
No problem. it would have been
Okay.
easier not to object, but it just, I found it bothersome.
Yeah, well, it raises some interesting questions and, you know, it becomes a, it's not a spectacular black and white issue.
Exactly. Okay, what about the recommendation of using that somewhere else on the property?
I would stay away from recommending, I think, a solution.
Okay,
One of the things, we don't have a full grasp, I think, of all the issues that might be involved, and
well, when I say
recommending a solution for this project.
recommend that they explore, but I mean, I can be pretty vague unless you.
Well, we're
would-
doing that by objecting to what they're doing. We're asking that they have a look.
Yeah, and reconsider, you know, possible ways to preserve preserve it as in the first proposal.
It's the
Okay.
west facade that the west side facade, street facing,
This,
Yeah,
that we're specifically objecting to.
Yes.
So we should be clear that that's
Okay.
what they do. Reconsider.
okay, we're
Okay.
settled on that?
Okay, yep.
I said it was complicated. I put that in my email. Okay,
Very good. Let me just check the agenda for the next, we did 1111 Mecox Road
We've done that.
and 2510 Montauk Highway, Bridgehampton, which was, we decided that Susan and myself, that it didn't need review. It was an interior renovation of a store, Main Street store of Bridgehampton, and did not require any detailed review. Going down, there's no, just to look at the question of the certificate of appropriateness. Nathaniel Rogers' house construction is still unfinished. There's a couple of weeks is the latest that I heard, needed to install a fence by the Community Preservation Department staff. So we'll wait for that opportunity. Let us try to do, in terms of priority here, 62 Red Creek Road, Hampton Bays, application for a landmark status. Are you all familiar with that?
Yep.
This is a wilderness area here in Hampton Bays, close to some of the houses we talked about a few minutes ago. Along the shoreline. Community Preservation Department wanted to landmark a dining hall on this property that has served as a, I believe this is the area, this is it here. We received an application. And
Yeah.
photograph.
Ed, it's actually further north.
Is it further north? Okay.
Yeah, go a little further north down the road there,
I mean, yeah.
further.
closer to the water?
Yeah, up, yeah,
This
pull the thing down. Yeah, okay, then you're getting to it.
Right here, okay.
Yeah, that's it.
And then let me then, actually, it's on a different,
Oh,
different
area.
address. There we go, yeah,
Yeah, there you go. That's it.
yeah. It's not 62, it's something else.
Okay, wait, it's not 62? It's all one tax lot.
Actually, the town owns, I think, 3 tax parcels there.
It's multiple parcels.
Yeah,
Oh, why is it that just one parcel is submitted? It's only lot 35 that's submitted.
Because they probably didn't know what they were doing when they made the application.
Ah,
I don't know.
yeah, I think Julie Green was asked to put it together for the Community Preservation Department.
Oh, okay.
And all the little ins and outs of the tax parcels might have, escaped the address might be actually the entrance road to access the whole area. That may be why it's listed that way.
well, I guess I have a question in terms of what exactly this application is submitted for. Is it submitted for the park as a whole? Is it submitted just for the winter cabin, main lodge, dining hall, whatever you want to call it? Because the way the application read to me, they were submitting it for the one building and all the other structures there are considered supporting.
Right. The designation that they were asking for recognition for was the winter cabin main dining hall, that building. That's what the application provides.
Right. Because the property
And-
contains quite a few buildings.
Yes, I don't think I think the interest in landmarking this building is to allow for the expenditure of resources from the Community Preservation Fund for maintenance, which, if we landmark it, it becomes a historic building that the town owns.
Right. I think we should probably be very careful about what exactly gets landmarked here, because there's a lot of repair, maintenance, etc. activity that goes on at the buildings out there. Many of them are very deteriorated. Some of them are falling down. Some of them are getting rebuilt by Boy Scout troops. So I think we have to be careful here.
Let me see if I can blow this up a little bit to get, yeah. Well, actually now, they indicate that it's the site is integral with the existence of the building. So why don't, I think the question you raised, Stephanie, is pertinent. And we should make sure we get clarification as to how it will be described as a landmarked entity. And that probably should be discussed with the Community Preservation Department. in order to make that clarification.
Yeah,
So why don't we postpone further consideration of this until our next meeting? And by that time, we should have more information about what the landmark request is for, whether it's for the structure or whether it's for the site as well. Because basically it's, you know, as a standard, the cultural and social characteristics are also important. And that's one of the reasons for being able to landmark something. So
yep,
this whole complex might be designated, not just one particular structure.
right. And there's some older aspects out there as well. There's a picture in there of a lopped tree, which I've seen out there. There's also a ditch and mound structure along with that lopped tree that, in my mind, is worthy of protection. So I'd be happy to participate in discussions about this property, so I have some familiarity with it.
Would you want to take up the communication with the Community Preservation Department to identify the context that they want for landmark consideration?
Absolutely.
Okay, the item is in your hands for management.
All right. I will discuss it with Lisa, and I assume Julie's been involved with it as well.
Yes, she, I think, is whatever revision to descriptive material and definitional material, she probably would be involved in handling.
Okay. Will do.
Okay. With those particular items, let's, if we can, turn to Vicky's report on the certified local government, which was sent out to individuals. And David also sent out some reference material via links that could be looked at. I don't know if individuals got a chance to do that.
I haven't had a chance to look through that information yet, but I will.
Either, yeah. Just to recap, Vicky, I think, did a wonderful job putting together a report.
Thank you.
That tries to explain the value of becoming a certified local government in terms of the emphasis and ability to operate for historic preservation. And it's something that we contemplated sending to the town board at some point. And the question was, are there any comments yet to be made for what Vicky has put together before we bring it to the attention of members of the town board?
I haven't had a time to look through this in detail, so I don't have any comments at this point in time.
I'd appreciate your looking through it, Stephanie.
I will.
Thank you. I have Susan's comments, and Dave sent some more suggestions that I'm going to pursue.
Okay. Julie Green met with the town board March 4th or so, and she happened to let the cat out of the bag, so to speak, about a certified local government project, which they were all curious about. But Julie didn't know anything about it, so it was left unclarified and unspoken to at that meeting. So I think I think they anticipate hearing from us fairly soon as to the ideas of it. And what I would ask is if you can, let's say, within the next week, by next Tuesday,
Okay.
review and comment to Vicky.
Yep.
And she will be the person in charge of handling the liaison with the town board members and communication and looking after any development of this project down the road. Okay, we can alert the other, I can email the missing members of our board to the same effect about this, and we'll be able maybe to get this underway.
Okay.
And also, Vicky, you had you had posted that the Southampton Village was having some discussion of creating more, putting more teeth into its historic preservation ordinances.
Yes, the village is having a second hearing next month. The issue is one relating to the demolition permits, whether the property is in or not in a historic district, whether it's landmarked or not. It's a question of age. If you go to the Southampton Village website, right on the first page of the website, you'll see the proposed code changes that are up for discussion. It's a very interesting presentation that was made last week, where they cited a very sad example because I think that their date for reference, I believe, is November of 29. And there was a property that, which you all are probably familiar with, the Four Fountains. That was the estate of William Paley. And that was demolished because it didn't fall within the purview, within the time frame of the jurisdiction. And that was literally demolished at the day of that public hearing. And the property, the house contents were thrown into the dumpster. And it's really just a shame. So if you get a chance to look at the website, you'll see the proposed language, and there will be continued public discussion on that.
Okay. So returning to our agenda here, we have pending discussions of other sites, the possibility of landmark applications for 149 South Country Road, Remsenburg. That is quiet, I believe.
Yeah, I think the last we had made the recommendation to the town board that they make a determination that it's landmark worthy. And we also recommended saying that they proceed with negotiating for a historic preservation easement with CPF. And I think when we last discussed it, we decided we would wait for CPF to weigh in on the issue. And I've not heard anything further from CPF on this.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's see, where are we?
Is it time that we
146. Go ahead.
Is it perhaps time we should follow up again with either the town board or CPF to see if there's been any motion on this? So I know it took a lot of prodding last time.
Yeah, everything takes prodding, and I found let's wait, and maybe there'll be a chance for some informal inquiry along the way.
Yeah, maybe when I have the discussion with Lisa Combrink about Red Creek Road.
Yeah. That, yes. Well, actually, yes. If you you might ask about other things when you have a discussion. Yes, very good. Very good.
I thought we were going to try to schedule a Zoom meeting with CPF to discuss a whole bunch of matters.
I don't recall that discussion.
Oh, I wrote it down in my notes from the last meeting.
Well, we were talking around the subject. I don't know if it was a Zoom meeting that was necessarily.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't know if it was a Zoom meeting, but
yeah.
David suggested, I think it was a couple meetings ago. I remember.
Yeah, maybe it was 2 meetings ago.
Yeah. Well, we also have the issue of, involvement in easement language for historic facade easements that needs to be discussed with CPF.
Right. Uh, 146 South Road. Let's just try to go through this. Is there anyone have any news on?
No news on that. They've been doing some interior work in their barn over the last few months. But I haven't heard anything further from them on this.
Okay. 680 Ocean Road is a landmark easement combination. That's also quiet at this point in time. 173 David's Lane, I think, is also something that is quiet. And not that anybody is there listening, but we haven't heard anything about their proceeding with anything. The Bridgehampton Historic District presentation was made March 4th by Julie Green. All the material is supposed to be posted on the Landmarks Board web pages, as well as, I believe, the town clerk's web pages. Hopefully soon. I was hoping to see it this week. I haven't checked the past 2 days. So that will be helpful and important. And when that's done, I plan to try to get a mailing with the cooperation and help of Janet and Land Management to the property owners of the proposed Main Street Historic District that has been outlined in that report. Alert them that they can check it out and get them somewhat informed as to what the perspective would be, and see if we can get some reaction. As you know, this is also something that has to be balanced with the question of progressing on gaining a certified local government status, where the code changes would give better options for defining and setting historic districts in the whole town of Southampton, not just the case of Bridgehampton Main Street. So any comments on that matters? Okay. And at some point, Janet, I'll probably be checking about the ability to get a mailing out, and I forgot how we did it the last time, so I'll have to check the addresses. There might be some change in ownership of some of the buildings that are identified in that report. But just to give you a heads up that there may be some things coming your way.
That's fine.
Thank you. Other matters from time gone by, we had some discussion of the application process with respect to the building department. I don't know if we have anything to work on there at this moment, given some of the other things that we have going on.
Is this something we should take off the agenda for the time being?
Well, it's a low priority kind of thing at the moment, given the attention that's got to be given to some other things.
Okay.
And here we can talk about the engineering report question, which has come up before. And it was raised again with respect to a site that probably would be on our next month's agenda.
Yes.
David, you expressed your opinion that the request for an engineering report might be superfluous and not really useful in any way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
At least in an instance where an applicant is acknowledging that the building is in excellent condition, and they're not submitting an engineer's report as a way to justify demolition. They're gonna, if they submit an engineer's report, it's gonna say that the building is fine. So, but that doesn't matter to the applicant. In fact,
Right.
it doesn't matter to the applicant. They want to tear it down, whether it's in good condition or bad condition.
Right.
The engineer's report just gives the landmarks board a way to, justify the agreement that the building doesn't warrant preservation.
Right. But it also documents, more formally, that the building is in excellent condition, and not something for which demolition is, indicated based on, structural deficiencies.
But they're not saying that.
I know they're not saying that.
Well, in this case, the question is, do we need to get an engineer's report because the structural integrity has been confirmed by the applicant?
To me, it's really helpful, particularly, we could request an engineer's report for every construction and every demolition application that we get, but we don't do that. It seems like it's when a property that's listed in AKRF is a significant historic resource, is being proposed for demolition, that an engineer's report is requested. To me, it helps if it's a property in one of the areas that I cover, that I know if I recommend that they donate the structure, I want to know that if it's in good condition from an engineer, not just from somebody saying it looks good. If it's not in good condition, then you wouldn't make that recommendation. So they're helpful to me. And I think it's one of the few things, how can I say it? On any of these, we're making recommendations because they can do the construction and they can do the demolition on any of the applications without our input. But it's the one thing we can do is do our best to evaluate it.
And I think too, with an engineer's report, not that these people are necessarily going to be swayed by it, but I think we have a better case, or a better, more support for making a case for preserving the structure if you have an engineer documenting that the structure is clearly in, excellent condition and is not worthy of putting into a dumpster. David, I agree in this particular case, these people's minds are made up, and I'm sure they've invested the money in their new design, and, they're going to do what they're going to do regardless of anything we may say.
I agree. It helps us make a case, but we're not in this to make a case. We don't need to make a case. We don't have the right to make a case because we don't have the right to prevent a demolition. So,
no, but we don't have a right to prevent it. But that doesn't mean that we can't advocate for preservation of this structure. I mean, why on earth do we do all these structure obituaries if it is not to not only document what's there, but to make a case for preserving some of these things?
Absolutely. I agree 100% with that.
So to me, the engineer's report will help with that, especially if it's a decent one. I mean, and it's not like it's a hardship for these folks. They've obviously bought a very expensive property. They're obviously going to spend a lot of money on not only demolition, but rebuilding what they're going to build out there. And they also have plenty of time. I mean, this came in the day after we closed the door on this review round. So they've got weeks ahead of them to get their report done. So
do a Google on the owner.
I haven't done that yet. I will try that.
As soon as I saw 10, 11 bedrooms and dining room tables that seat 20 people, I had to Google them. Very interesting.
Yes, we're definitely becoming even more of a commodity than we've been.
Well, I'm of the mind that, certainly an engineering report on the integrity of a building that is slated for demolition is important, where it's not acknowledged, where the presumption is being made that the building is in deteriorated condition of some kind, and you want verification of that. I'm kind of David's mind that asking for the engineering report where there clearly is, it's going to confirm what is already given by the applicant, that is, it is somewhat superfluous. That's kind of my judgment.
Sometimes with the engineer's report, they actually go down and they have more pictures from the basement, from the attic, structural things.
Yeah, well, that's kind of irrelevant, because that's the other part of this whole question of the engineering report, is that there's no standards for it. There's no way that you're going to get a uniform characterization of the structure that you want to be analyzed. And, we had this question about the quality of an engineering report a couple of months ago that Bill had generated as a question. So, that question of what kind of report do you want as well?
Well, I think Bill had a very legitimate, I remember that discussion clearly, and Bill's comments were absolutely on point. There is an issue of the caliber of some of the engineering reports and also of the engineers themselves. So we don't get to choose the engineers. We don't choose the architects who come before us. So there has to be, I don't know whether you can impose a standard. However, I do think I think it's relevant to have an engineering report in the case of a demolition of a property that we think does have historic value.
The code does allow you to waive it. So under what circumstances would you consider waiving it?
On all the ones that you see this evening that have not submitted them. If it's for minor construction, if it's for demolition of a property that's not a historic resource, it's not on AKRF, minor construction, all those
Right,
are waived.
we looked at 23B Baycrest Avenue this month, and they had a fire. So obviously, we understand that there's damage to the house. It's a construction application, so they're going to put it back into usable condition. We really don't need an engineer to come in and say, there was a fire, there's no roof left.
Yeah.
Also, as I looked at 45 Shore Road, it's a very clean and separate addition to the house, imposing no loads on the framing or foundation of that house. Again, I can say, okay, we don't really need to know whether that house can support this addition. A second floor or a second floor dormer would be something we would want to know. Can that first floor, can that foundation underneath it support it? So I think some things, and it's easier for me as an architect to say, okay, yeah, that addition does not impose any loads on it. But I understand, having conversations with Susan sometimes, that she's unsure of, how do I look at this structurally? Can I make a decision as to whether it's going to hurt it or not?
Well, for the moment, in terms of practice and policy, we'll stick with the routine of allowing an individual member of the board to ask for an engineer's report, being mindful of the fact that it can be perhaps sometimes not a matter of great substance in certain cases. So we'll just abide by the wisdom and good sense of the board members with respect to getting an engineer's report for our projects. That makes sense?
Makes sense.
Okay. All right. Demolition and construction list update. Susan, do you have any comments?
I'm working on those, and as soon as we get the responses all in from March, I will send you January, February, and send everybody January, February, March 2021 construction and demolition. And I also made the notations on a couple changes on the 2020 summary and the referral, just a couple small points, adding the due. They're just a couple minor points that for our memory, but I'll send those when I send the other ones. So they're in progress.
Okay, thank you, Susan. That's good. And any any things of interest with the planning board or ZBA?
Actually, yes. Most of them for the ZBA and the planning boards are repeats or no concerns, except for the planning board on February 25th, they had 890 Scuttle Hole, the Conklin Farm, AYB 1845. I think it was the Breezes.
Breeze Hill, yeah.
A pre-application for a 6-lot subdivision on 93.9 acres.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And what happened is I just have to get back on the planning board agenda list. So for some reason, my name has been taken off, so I don't get them in time. I just get them before the meeting when I stop to look for them. So I didn't know that until today, or I would have written you, Ed, but I knew I would see you here this evening. Should we request a referral for that?
Well, it's a subdivision, first of all, that the house is historic, as well as the farm structures.
There are a
that are
few
there.
barns, I think, potato barn
Yes,
and
the barns have been painted often by local artists over the years. So there, yes, it probably is a good idea to request referral, particularly if the subdivision means that some structures are going to be altered in some fashion.
could be. So that's all I have, but that one really, of course, stuck out. Oh, one other, just a small one underneath the ZBA. There's a small 1920 house at 22 Bayview. It's on the March 4th agenda, ZBA. It looks like they're proposing a new house for 22 Bayview in Noyak. But that's a minor concern. That's it.
Susan, I don't think it's 93 acres that's being subdivided. Most of all that property has sold their development rights to the town.
I think so, yeah.
They
No, I think-
retained, where the house is, there's a 9.5 acre property that they still have development rights on. So if there's any subdivision, it would be 9.5 acres.
And that could be, I just think I tried to read what I saw on the agenda, and that's, maybe I misread it, or maybe they put the wrong number.
Yeah, I'm not sure why they would have put 93 acres on the agenda, because the properties that are preserved have separate tax map numbers.
Okay,
So-
seems like awful big lots, so I didn't quite understand it, but if
What-
we get a referral, we'll be able to maybe,
What is the
Get a better
number,
idea.
Susan? What is the address?
890 Scuttle Hole.
Yeah,
90 Scuttle.
Yeah, that, you know why? It's because all three of those parcels have 890 Scuttle Hole Road as an address. I'm fairly certain that they're only subdividing the 9.5 acre property.
Okay. Just as a reference here. This is the 9-point-something acres, I guess, that the property consists of.
Correct. That's not protected at this point.
Right. This is a historic house, goes back to
45 is
1860s
what?
or so. The Stephen Haynes house. These are the old historic bonds. Next door is the Atlantic Golf Course over here. And this belongs to the Atlantic Golf Course as well, this access here. Okay, all right, but that's a significant item, because this is certainly a very historic set of structures. Thank you for catching that.
So we'll request referral, and then you'll pass it on to you, of course, so you can review it.
Okay, couple things on the agenda there too, just to mention. I have not communicated with our awardee of the landmarks maintenance grant, which is something I've forgotten.
Did the town board award that yet?
No, but the fact that we would be nominating them.
Oh, okay.
To them, you know.
Yeah, she made an inquiry with me, but I told her we were discussing it and I couldn't tell her anything. So
Okay.
she's
But,
curious.
yeah, we'll have to get a resolution put before the town board. David, should I draw that up? Send it to you?
Sure.
Okay. I'll try to look for the boilerplate from my past work to put that into effect. Okay. Discussion with the CPF on future easements. Well, that's on our agenda yet to do. Anything else on the minds of colleague board members here?
Oh, did everybody get sworn in, or do we have some vacancies right now?
We do have some. We have the vacancy from the absence of Sarah, who would be the 9th member.
Uh-huh.
We do had, Stephanie and I had a little prefatory communication about seeking out an additional member who might be helpful in the Hampton Bays area. And that's probably something we should be thinking about, to add a, if Sarah comes back, which she expressed an interest in doing, getting reappointed later on after her maternity leave. We'll be back at 9. We're authorized for 11, so that we can add a person or two if we want. And Hampton Bays, I think, could use some additional reviewer if we can find the appropriate person to fill that kind of niche. Perhaps if I reach out maybe to the head of the Hampton Bays Historical Society.
Yeah, I was actually, Ed, I know Brenda, and I'd be happy to reach out to her. I know she's been asked personally in the past if she would like to be on the board, but she has in the past been too busy. And that may still be the case, but she may know of somebody who would have an interest.
Okay, if you would look at that too, that would be helpful. If otherwise, I've had minimal conversation or communication with her in recent times. So.
Yeah, I ended up giving her a lot of my mom's stuff, including some Liaison hat boxes. So I've had some recent dealings with her. The other place we could ask is the Hampton Bays Civic Association. I don't personally know of anybody on the Civic Association, but that would be another place where they might know of somebody with historic leanings.
Well, why don't we do this in steps? Your step first with the Hampton Bays Historical Association, and then see what that produces or doesn't. And then the Hampton Bays Civic Association as a second possibility, a second step of looking for an interested party.
Okay.
Just a thought on the membership criteria for a certified local government on a landmarks commission. It's pretty stringent. It might be difficult to fill 11 positions with people that all meet those qualifications.
If you look at the qualifications, it's kind of, these are the people you should have if available.
Oh, if available, okay.
Yeah. But a lot of it is, you can define the qualifications yourself for that board or commission. You know, if they're members of a historical association, for example, it's demonstrated interest, it's capacity and skill that they might bring to the judgments of such a board. So there's flexibility and room to operate within those things. And of course, a lot of it is, you know, asking for some professional credentialing, like architects, people who have training in an academic discipline associated with historical interest of some kind, or anthropology, cultural interest as well. So there is some flexibility to work with it. And I think the other thing, one of them is something of a track record of being involved in activities associated with cultivation of historic values and historic enterprises and communities.
Okay. Does anyone know if Jeff got sworn in?
Jeff Gibbons?
Yeah.
Yes, he was sworn in.
Okay.
Yeah, he wasn't feeling well today. He said he called me this afternoon and indicated he was under the weather. So Eddie, anything else for our consideration? If not, thank you, Charles, for your backstopping our operation.
My pleasure.
And Janet and Dave, thanks for your support. Again, this is one year of
Wow.
an unbelievable journey by Zoom.
We made it.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Ed,
and,
for all of your
yeah.
graphics.
So while I'm still awkward at it, I sometimes get lost in the 15 windows that are open on my laptop. So I know you all have the same experience on a lot of these things.
You do very well.
Yep.
Well, I thank you for your patience and also for the guidance that you want to give me. So Ed, you're on mute. And well, with that, we'll say good night and the